Bring this meeting to order. Roll call.
McKnight.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Roa.
Here.
Vogel.
Here.
Kinder.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with public comment on agenda items.
Yes, I have Jolie Matalina.
Yes.
From Asbury Manor.
Good evening, guys. My name is Jolie Madaleno. I have lived at Asbury Manor West myself, actually, for 41 years. The group of us are here tonight because we are in need of your help. The park has new owners called Regal Communities. It's worse than ever. The park grounds are deteriorating, the roads are not being maintained. There are massive potholes, water drainage problems. We've had a lot of water breaks in the pipes. Regal won't fix. The people, they are on disability, Social Security, and retirements. Nobody should be living in these kind of conditions. We've been trying to communicate with Regal, but they ignore us. It's been almost 10 months since they took over the park. And we cannot seem to get them to get the payment, to pay the rents, to pay anything or what's going on, and they won't get back to us. We're working with an attorney at this time to try to resolve things. He's reached out, and they won't reach back. We get no response. We're here tonight asking you guys if there's any way you can tour the park, see all the problems, make up your minds, and maybe send fines and help us with this. Start fining them for what they're not doing. None of these people, any of us, deserve to live like this. And it has happened through the years, but these owners are responsible, and they're not taking it to responsibility. And anything we can have help from you, we'd all appreciate. Okay?
Thank you. Could I ask a question? Is all of Asbury West in the city, or is part of it in Vernon Township, or all of it?
We pay city taxes.
I'm sorry?
We pay city taxes.
It's all in the
We
city.
don't pay
It's
any
all in the
Vernon
city?
Township.
Okay.
East and west?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all. I'm
That's
sorry.
all.
Yes, that is all.
Notice of executive session meetings?
There was an executive session meeting held on March 4th to discuss personnel.
Can I have a motion to approve minutes March 4th, 2025?
Motion?
I'll second. Discussion? Roll call?
McKnight,
Aye.
Myers,
Aye.
Roa,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye. Communication, Mara resignation. Can I have a motion to accept the resignation?
So.
I'll second. Discussion? Roll call.
McKnight,
Aye.
Myers,
Aye.
Roa,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye. General Manager's Report.
So really just one main topic, and this is the crisis intervention officer. Just wanted to give some statistics on how many things he's been working on, how many folks he's helped. He went effective January 1st of this year. Been responding to various referrals from police officers as well as fire department personnel. He's responded to 78 different case loads during that time, and his activities go for everything from checking up on them or actively taking the individual to St. James Haven or CHATS. Been partnering with a lot of community organizations such as FCCA. He volunteers there every other weekend at their breakfast that they have, getting to know individuals, creating a report. He's holding the coffee hour at the library on Friday at 10 to help talk through some different issues that the library is experiencing. So I just wanted to give kind of an update on things he has been working on. I have a full 60-page printout, if anybody wants to see that after the meeting about things he's been working on. So.
And when he goes out on that call, like that's all logged in our like police.
It's logged in 3 different places. He keeps his own log. The dispatcher has a log, and then it's also logged into our RMS system, which is used for state reporting on things like this.
And when he goes out and it's from a call, right? Like, is it always from a call for the police that the police have showed up to, or is there other instances that he goes out on?
It's not always, that's the vast majority of it, somebody that there's been an encounter with or a report from. But I know personally, I've called Brian for various situations to go down and check on somebody, and he does that and follows through with taking them to the appropriate social service organization and then continuing to follow up with them to make sure that any issues they're having are met and be open and helpful in any way you can.
Last question. Would, let's say, you said he's helping with the library, would the library call him, or would they
They can.
call?
Mm-hmm.
Right, like, so different agencies that he's created a relationship with or not could call in, and maybe he's the person that they would ask for, or they would,
Absolutely.
okay.
And do they call the non-emergency line?
They could call either, preferably the non-emergency line, but I think Brian has also given out his office line and cell phone to people, so they could feel free to call that or text that number as well.
What's our non-emergency line?
That's a great question.
I'll
get that to you.
724-6100.
Yeah.
Cool.
I called,
There
right,
you
like,
go.
it's
There you go.
right, like, so, yeah. Okay.
I know people aren't here for this, but also this is a captive audience, and we have people at home. We have a crisis intervention officer now on our City of Meadville Police Force who will respond to crises, folks in crises, folks experiencing mental health issues, and get them to the support that they need. And it sounds like you can call the non-emergency line. You can call 911 and he'll be dispatched, or the non-emergency line, which we now know is 814-724-6100. And we have him for 3 years through the
Federal appropriations.
federal appropriations from Mike Kelly's office. Right.
Yep. Casey's.
Bob Casey's office.
And
Credit Bureau's due.
just to jump on that, right, he works through our police force and he is there to supplement and help the police in a way so they don't have to, they can be dispatched to do other work, and he is able to follow up in a different way, correct? Okay, just the overview for this audience. Okay.
Can I,
So-
quick,
Yep.
just because Marion had kind of a follow-up on the street light, then the behind.
Sure.
And that it, right, kind of like is like, it's just the light that's out.
So Nathan went past, the public works director, went past that location in the dark, and he believes
So it's
it's
the alley.
correct.
Yes, where there had been
Right.
checks.
What is it?
It-
By Juniper?
West
Yeah.
Center Lane.
Okay.
West Center Lane, okay.
And he believes that there's actually one street light out. Yes, the streetlights are more sparsely placed in alleys. There is one, and he thinks that the light is actually out, and we're gonna see if fixing that will help the lighting situation before we explore adding a new pole and light.
Yeah, I drove up, and there's a light at the intersection of East Street and Center, another light up at Walnut Street, and one, of course, at Liberty. But in between Grove and Liberty, or East Street, I don't believe there is one, and that's a little bit far apart. And there's a lot of trees.
Thank you for the work on that, Mary.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Manager's report question. So we approved Shayna Morrison's resignation from the rec authority, which then would go just like in the next call.
Yep.
Do we know when that might be?
It's probably gonna go out at the beginning of April.
Beginning of April?
Yes.
And that's, do you know off the top of your head what those are? Environmental Advisory Council?
EAC,
It would be the
Mara
Rec
has,
Complex.
Mara and Mark, Beautification Committee,
Water authority.
Water Authority, yes, and Mara.
Great. Great. So openings on city authorities, boards, and commissions, if anybody wants to volunteer and be in charge of a city function. And the application will go live maybe early April. Great.
And since I go to the meetings, she's really done a great job. I mean,
Yeah.
so I wanted to kind of give a shout out, but I didn't get it in the discussion, so shout out to Shayna for doing a really good job on the board.
All right. Old business, ordinance, third and final reading, fireman's pension. Oh, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Discussion.
First and second reading occurred on council's February 18th meeting. This, as a reminder, incorporates the changes made to the CBA during negotiations, specifically covering the conversion of the defined benefit plan, or the defined contribution plan to the defined benefit plan, and also changing the vesting from 12 years to 10 years. That way, the plan itself fits into a safe harbor provision of a social security equivalent plan.
Anybody have any questions?
When does this take effect? We pass tonight and then
21 days.
21 days, the same as any other ordinance. So the pension plan, the pension for the fire department would then be active 21 days from now?
We're gonna move money from the defined contribution that they've been contributing to and to the defined benefit plan, but only after this ordinance is effective. They've already been contributing to defined benefit plan since the contract took place.
The beginning of the year?
Correct.
Okay, yep.
Any other questions? Roll call.
An ordinance of the City of Meadville, Crawford County, Pennsylvania, amending Article 161 of the Meadville Municipal Code known as the Fireman's Pension Fund, providing for an effective date, severability, and repealer. McKnight,
Aye.
Myers,
Aye.
Roa,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye. Discussion zoning ordinance amendments, dwellings.
It's pretty much the same ordinance that you had seen previously. We had just room to address it one more time before a public hearing would be scheduled on April 1st. That was required prior to adoption. That's just a requirement that the municipalities planning code has of us. So if there's anything that you'd like to change, this is kind of your time to do so. Otherwise, it'll go before the hearing, and then any other substantive changes that we might make after them would require another hearing. So I'm just making sure that we're confident in what's going before you then. The only changes that I put in that were more clarifying once it came back from Knox Law Firm's review of it. So.
Would anybody be surprised if I told you I have 4 pages of changes?
No.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
We wouldn't absolutely be surprised.
You wouldn't be you, Jim.
Did we, this wasn't what we were supposed to send you corrections to by Friday, right? We were already supposed to have had our corrections in and.
No, this is a
okay.
different thing.
Friday was the deadline we had set for parking.
Right, okay. I mean, this is, I know we've been working on this,
Yeah.
but I, because it looks good. I think you've done a wonderful job.
There should be a copy for Peter.
I sure
Just
hope
copy.
so.
Do you need this?
Peter, have you seen this yet?
No.
I just copied it tonight.
You just have to share this. I'll share.
A lot of them are just, I'll call it editorial. Like when we're talking about floor to ceiling height of 6 feet, I would suggest 7 feet, because I think our property maintenance people are requiring that the ceiling be 7 feet tall or taller. So it wouldn't make sense to have a zoning change allowing 6 feet if property inspections go to 7. And the section 2, this is on page 2 of the ordinance. It's actually section 1 sub 2. Habitable floor area. I would suggest that that be dropped entirely. When doing residential work, appraising, brokerage, or construction, we use gross living area, and that's the exterior living area of the facility. And in section 3 on page 3A4, ADU shall have a minimum habitable floor area. I'd remove the 401 square foot minimum and have the minimum habitable floor area, or have the GLA at 640 square feet. Section 3C1, you might want to consider a single lot of record requirement. For example, I'm thinking of 2 contiguous lots. In and of themselves, the 2 lots are too small, but together, you could probably have a 2, maybe 3 unit cottage court, and if you bought the house next to it, you would have a 3 or 4 unit cottage court. Now you can cure that by having a combination of lots, but that's of course an additional expense and time constraint. Section 3C2, substitute gross living area. Oh, and townhouses, I'm suggesting a minimum of 16 feet, not 15, which I'll get to later. Section 3D, alter the 648 square foot requirement to 640 square feet. And my reasoning for those is in the interest of making building costs more effective. I used on page 3 of my discussion, I used examples of 20 by 20, 20 by 24, and so on and so forth. The commonality is if you take the number of feet, multiply by 12 and divide by 16 and you get a whole number, that means that you don't have to have extra carpentry work done because everything is 16 inches on center. When you build studs, 16 inches on center. Concrete blocks are 16 inches long. So for the variance in square footage, 648 square feet would involve more cutting and slicing of blocks and wood and drywall and siding, and actually probably be less cost effective. And
Sorry, Jim, I'm just gonna interrupt for a second.
Okay.
Can we just zoom out a little bit? Peter, is your intent for us to be able to be at a point where we can make a decision tonight and vote
No.
at the next meeting?
No.
No, okay, all right, that's fine, because I can't process
Sure.
these
Oh, no,
changes
I wouldn't expect you to.
currently into anything that, yeah.
I just
I-
need to get to a point where it can come before a hearing in a substantially completed form, so we do not have to reschedule a second hearing with any following changes.
Sure.
That would make meaningful difference to the ordinance.
Absolutely. Jim, when you have things like this, could you send them the night before so that
I just got it finished this morning.
I know, I know, and you do such a good job at giving us 4 pages of changes. But if
To
we
be fair-
could just, do you know what I mean, like that way I can process and then I can
Yeah.
talk to you, and then Peter isn't put on the spot and we, you know what I mean, he can at least answer. So I just would appreciate that, at least the night before. But thank you for this.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay, you have my reasoning for
Yeah.
all those.
Yes.
The biggest change is that I suggest that the residential area not be an area where we can have these. Because for single-family residential, in order to keep values, you want homogeneity of use, not homogeneity of structure or people. But if you start varying this, if you have a residential area with in essence a rental, you've eliminated the residential area from our zoning de facto. And with it, you might have people less inclined to want to invest in the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is one perspective. I think another is that people need places to live. Density is good. We can have very, different ways of people to live in neighborhoods. I hear what you're saying, Andrew.
So all I want from you now, given this, if you have similar commentaries, just as Jim does, to Jim's commentary or to the draft for you, please get them all to me 1 week, like 1 week from now. That would be great, so I can incorporate them and have an ordinance draft that the public can inspect prior to the hearing.
Peter,
Thank you, Peter.
this is the first time we've seen this since we've gotten the county's most recent
Correct.
review too? Were any changes made based on those?
No.
Okay. All right. They want us to respond to you with
A
our
week from
thoughts
today.
within a week.
Sorry?
A week from today.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Jim, can you give me an email version of your notes? Because there were no copies. Oh, can you email me?
Oh, sure.
Oh, wait, no, I'm getting something.
You can have mine.
I get two. So I have a little reasoning there to rent.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions on the zoning, the discussion zoning ordinance, dwellings? Okay, I'm gonna move on to discussion zoning ordinance amendment tobacconist.
Again, pretty much in the same exact form that you've seen, with one clarifying change that I took the liberty to make. It does go back to Jim's suggestion of what comparable form and effect was. That phrase that was central to a discussion a couple weeks ago. I think when we were talking about that, we got a bit too much into the weeds of what that is, but reconsidering it and looking at things that were actually on the market, it's pretty much, in my mind, no big change to just say comparable form and drug effect. I would think that anybody sensibly who's looking at something that names specifically tobacco, nicotine, cannabis, or consumer derivatives thereof knows that tobacco, nicotine, and cannabis are drugs, and we're collecting them as form and effect, the effect being that of those as drugs. So in case it gets to the zoning hearing board, however, who might have somebody argue ambiguity into it, just very specifically, the drug effect of these, just like Big League Chew bubblegum, form, not the same effect, right? Non-nicotine vapes, like we brought there, they're usually a gateway thing that heavy thoughts of, but form, but not the same drug effect, even though the vapor effect and the appearance of it might visibly. So that's just a modest clarification because the zoning hearing board hasn't got the chance to comment on how they would interpret it like you have. So it was easy enough to put in a word. That's the only change.
Peter, what's the recourse? This is not substantive to the changes in front of us. So we're, as proposed right now, we're saying that tobacconists must apply for a special exception in MU2, MU3, GBM, and the Economic Development Corridor. And they get that approval to open up that particular kind of business in those neighborhoods. And if they don't, what is the recourse
If they
of not, like
Like they open
if they
anyway.
open up and they have not gone through like the zoning hearing board as they're supposed to, what's the?
You hit them with the notice of zoning violation. There's fines that are associated with that. If they don't comply with shutting down because they don't have the necessary permits, so they're not allowed to be there, then enforcement actions can be taken, in which those fines are judicially assessed against them. And there can be orders to shut them down.
Okay.
Much like any business that would open up in violation of the
Without
zoning ordinance.
going through zoning. Thank you. Throw your voice.
Where, just because Autumn asked, where would someone find that, right? Like,
It's in the zoning code.
it'll be at in the zoning code what the process is of a violation. Right, okay. I just want to
Yes.
make sure that it is clear when people, you know what I mean, are looking. I know it's not on this, but it's clear when they're looking that it's in there and spelled out.
Have we printed the zoning ordinance for public to purchase?
I believe there should be a printed copy for public inspection in the administrative office right
Okay,
over
because
here.
we used to actually sell them to members of the public if they
Yes.
requested.
And, well, I have a whole lot of unpurchased 1994 zoning ordinances in a box, so.
The zoning ordinance is available
You
online.
can sell them as like a commemorative.
Yeah, and they can
Yeah.
print it out.
Yeah, and search it.
So we can be,
Outdated.
we can do and be required to reproduce it at cost of production on demand or request, but just like having a box of printed spiral bound stuff, it's,
So
that would be on
It's-
my
it
bookshelf.
is all-
electronically, will these be electronically integrated into the zoning ordinance, or will they be appended to the end and someone will have to go through them and refer back?
Sorry, go ahead.
The codification company will merge it together once it's passed.
Okay.
So it's all available online, people can print relevant sections if they want to. First 10 pages are free at the library.
Right.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay. New business. We're gonna start with discussion Asbury Manor property maintenance.
So I will just go through kind of what has led up to right now. So in end of October, Code Enforcement Officer Nick Cheripovich sent a letter to me requesting a legal opinion of if property inspections at Asbury Manor could occur by property maintenance. There were some questions surrounding that, just simply because the property management company owns both the roads and the grounds itself. We did receive in mid-November a response back from Knox with a legal opinion stating that as long as there is a request for an inspection, that property inspectors could go out and take a look at the property. I did supply you, and it's included in your packets, a breakdown of correspondence between Nick and the owners of the property. I do think it addresses some of the issues presented here, the potholes, not specifically the water drainage problems, because I'm not certain what's causing that necessarily, and the abandoned homes. So this goes through some of those things. Concerning the potholes, it does look like multiple notices of violation were sent regarding pothole repair, but the company, as they're legally allowed to do, requested an extension to be able to fix those. Those extensions were granted until June 1st of this year.
To clarify, they're supposed to be fixed by June 1st of this year?
Correct.
Okay.
How long would that, well, that'd have been what, like 6 months or something?
Sounds great. I'd have to go back and look at what the property maintenance code is for how long they have to repair such things, but
Do they have to give like grounds, like hardship or something like that?
they would have had a discussion with Nick about why they're requesting the extension. And then Nick would have made an evaluation as to, this meets our criteria for granting an extension. I haven't seen it. My guess is gonna just be the weather and
Right.
winter
Winter,
would be
sure.
my guess as to why. So that happened most recently. On March 12th, a letter was sent to the owners requesting multiple things be looked at and addressed. One of those things is pipes, drains, trailer tie downs. So that might be some of the water drainage. Again, I'm not certain what that stems from. Nick also, in this most recent letter to the owners, did touch on the abandoned trailer situation, suggesting that the owners obtain a legal opinion to determine how the owners can address the abandoned trailers on the property.
The owners of the park, correct, to address the abandoned trailers. which
Correct, because
Might not have an owner.
right, yep. We've tried to reach out, we've had some of the abandoned trailers boarded up, but we can't find the owner of record for the trailer to send them a notice of violation or anything of that.
Do you know how many empty trailers there are Do you have anybody?
How does our nuisance ordinance affect our ability to enter on the property?
The lots.
So, Jim, in that document, there's a legal opinion that is included within there where we've answered that. If we have received a request,
Has to be by the request, we can't.
we just, much like a single-family home that is leased or rented, we can't just show up on the private property and start poking around. So you have to be invited in by a tenant. And it's the same thing with this situation, where this is private property. We have to be invited in by a tenant to come and look at a suspected violation of the ordinance. So there's Fourth Amendment rights that are held by the property owner to not have us violate reasonable search and seizure prohibitions. But if we have reasonable suspicion of ordinance violations, property maintenance code violations, and we're requested to come in as part of those reasonable suspicions by a tenant, we then have the ability to come onto the property and inspect.
And absent that, we can only cite for what is visible from a public road.
From a public road.
Or an adjacent property, to give us permission to.
Correct. Similar to if it was a single-family home on a single parcel of land, we cannot go and root around the backyard and find a violation. We can only cite on the basis of what we can see from the sidewalk.
And that's the same with like a rental unit, any renter on a
Anywhere.
property would be able to say, hey, there's a hole in my backyard, or there's pipe sticking up, and we then could go on the property, even if it was.
There's a pile of trash sitting here that was left over that the landlord hasn't dealt with. It's not our trash, it's causing a public health hazard. Then we could go and inspect it.
Sure, and although this may not be the scope of the problems out there, this is the scope that the property manager could, or maintenance person could deal with through the,
Property maintenance code.
right, okay. You had a comment real quick?
Yes, about that, where they were saying leasing and renters, all the homes that are occupied at this time are owned.
Right, but you
Yeah.
have lot rent.
The
But you
lot,
have lot
We
rent.
have lot rent.
Yeah.
We pay city taxes, all that, that's why we're requesting help.
yeah, no, absolutely. When I say that, and the reason I say renters is because of the land that you
Okay.
rent,
You-
and
you
that's
own
what gives us
Right.
the ability to walk
Understand
on.
that.
You own the
I just
home.
wanted to verify that.
Yeah.
But it's on private property.
True.
So that's where we have to worry about the rights of the private property owner. And so this is the manner in which
Yeah.
we can come in and do an inspection.
Okay. I
Thank
just
you for
wanted
that
to-
That's a
clarification.
good, that's
Yeah,
a good
no, thank you.
clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's helpful. Say renters or residents too.
Yeah,
Regardless, but I
because you're
recognize
home.
that you all
Yeah.
on the Instagram. So something that I'm finding interesting is that like in Nick's write-up too, it seems like we, the city, are getting response from the owner, which is in contrast to maybe the experience of folks like who are paying their rent there and live there, which is, I don't know what that means, but it feels worth noting. It's good that they're being responsive to Nick and to our code enforcement. And hopefully we can kind of use that to, see that some of these improvements get done. But it is a shame that the folks I think that are living there don't maybe see that same kind of response and attention.
Right. And just to be clear, I think that we have citizens of Meadville here because they're unable to live with dignity and live in a place where they can find their joy, right? And that's in the city of Meadville limits, and that is why we've got a whole entire neighborhood and community coming to us and letting us know about it. And they did provide just now a couple of things, right? And along with that is a letter that they had sent, right, with no answer. And I am encouraged that we as the city are getting an answer, and I think that is great. And it seems to be signed by quite a few people, right? And this is something that you guys sent out. That's great. With what we have addressed today, but also the other things that weren't addressed that you guys are fighting for that has nothing, right? Like that isn't property maintenance, but lack of communication, excessive rent increases, problems with current online, the payment portals, the unsafe and
And we have
deteriorating.
worked with the lawyers on that, they're
Yeah.
working at that.
Sure, yeah, that's wonderful that you guys have gotten that far. But the unsafe and deteriorating park grounds is what you guys are coming here for and what we were able to start to address. And all of the other 4 things are something that we can't address at this time, but you have given us that. And then the other thing that I see is, it looks like a tour that you're asking us to come to,
Yes.
as council? Is that what you're, like, this is something we got in our
We're
packet?
inviting you in to see what we actually
Sure.
have to live with.
Sure, so not just take your word for it, come and see, right? And that looks like it's March 25th, at 6 PM.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for this, thank you for being here.
Could I ask
I-
what the rent is?
Sure, do you have what your lot rent is?
What is the lot rent?
Before they raised it, it was $546.
And that includes water, sewer?
Water, sewer, trash, and that's
Yes.
it. And
Okay.
the lot itself.
What is it after they've raised it? For those, some of you don't have a
It'd
lease,
be
but
It
just
raised,
below
I think it was
600.
like $50 or something like that.
$50.
Okay.
$50 again.
When, and this is just a quick question for you. When you say water is included, you guys have no restrictions on that water, or you can use as much as you want?
Yeah.
We have no restrictions at this time, we used to, and
Okay.
the other owners had that all.
They had it all
They
switched
were gonna
over
put water
to.
meters per trailer,
Sure,
and they run into a cost thing, and they decided, no, let's just do this.
okay,
So that's why we don't each have, whatever we use.
yeah. I was only asking if, so you get unlimited water for a small amount, so you can
Yes.
wash your cars and you can, and all of that. That's just something I was
Even
asking.
though they say in there you should not be washing your cars, no swimming pools, things like that, but yes,
So kind of restricted.
yes.
Got
And
it.
some of the things that they put in the new rent lease, we did find out through the lawyers that it's against Pennsylvania trailer park, some laws that they're looking into,
Sure.
told them they can't do. So we're having that all looked at on the new lease that they want us to sign that we have not signed.
Yeah, I again, just want to thank you guys for coming and letting us be a part, and letting us know what's going on within the city limits, right? And Marion, thank you for the report from Nick, who has been coming out, has been very thoughtful in his approach to, asking the lawyers, asking Marianne, right, like, to see what we can and are able to do before we, just willy-nilly go running on somebody's property, right?
And I will say that opinion was requested and provided in November of last year as Nick was getting prepared for the spring to be able to have better access to things and be able to see things. So there was a lot of forethought
Yeah.
going in so that you could hit the ground running, so to speak.
And thank you for getting that to him quickly.
yeah, no, I echo the thanks. I'm glad that y'all are here, and raising the concerns in particular, right? The property maintenance concerns are the ones that, we've got the most, ability to do something about. I will commit to attending next week. Thank you for the invitation. I hope the rest of council will. I hope city staff can too, and I wonder if we can extend an invitation to Nick. I know it's probably outside of his hours, but it might be nice to know, like, this is the thing he cited, and yes, he was talking about this, right, like in that moment, if he's available for that, that would be great, but I understand.
So I would just,
Yeah.
for the
if it's
record,
okay.
in order for us to have the property maintenance inspector to be on the property, there needs to be clear suspected violations that he would be seeing at that time. And I think, just for the record, I think that the
These pictures, huh?
information that's on those pictures should be enough to trigger concerns regarding violations of the ordinance, so it'd be all right with him being there.
Great, and he doesn't, I guess he doesn't need to be writing stuff up in the moment unless that's requested, but like, to know, or I think it would be helpful to know what things are in motion to be fixed.
Do requests have to be in writing, or can they be by phone or text?
So that, it's actually a portion of our opinion on that, and they can whatever the policy of the city is regarding how they're gonna receive those is appropriate.
Do we have policy?
We
Excuse
accept
me, can I
both.
say one little thing?
We prefer in writing though, so there's a paper trail.
I wanted to say, yes, this has gone on for years with the different other landlords too. But each one that bought it, they started to fix things up and then they backed down. Now, this last time, we all stood together and got together and said, no more. We're not doing it. There's the blatant homes over there that are dangerous for anybody to be around. They haven't been lived in, I couldn't tell you when.
Yeah.
And there's several of them.
The two behind
So
me
we
haven't
just
been
got
lived
this.
in the last
This time we
5
said,
years.
this landlord, we're putting him at a stop and saying, we want help.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here, guys.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, just so you know, we care about you guys, and we want you to live with dignity also, right? That's the value statement of us, right? So we want you to have the best place that you can have.
And at least for empty trailers, I think between both, there's probably a dozen or more empty ones.
Sure. What you had something to say, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I've been living in trailer one on the west side for one winter and 2 summers, and I can second many of the things that the residents here are talking about. Behind my trailer, there's outstanding amounts of standing water, and I believe the mosquito problem could be, a health issue.
Sure.
That and the stray animals running around, but I don't do much about that. About 2 months ago, on the financial issue, I believe several other people were issued 3-day eviction notices because nobody knew how to pay the owners. That's, to this day, I still have a $350 credit on their old portal. And I was issued an eviction notice. I can't say much about what's going on because I haven't been there very long. But the problems do exist. And I work out of the country. I work in Canada, so if for any reason anyone would like to, be on my property while I'm not home, you're all welcome to do so.
Thank you for speaking up, and thank you for telling your story. Appreciate you guys being here.
Jolene, I can't be there on Tuesday. Is there a way that we can talk and I can maybe get a tour by somebody, just separate?
Yes, we can figure that out.
Okay, maybe afterwards.
We'll work with Joe and we'll get him to get a hold of you and we can figure that out.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Can I ask one other question? What is this, a picture of? Is that,
Looks like.
Oh, those are where the broken water lines and sewage lines and stuff that we're finding all over the empty lots.
so you think
It's a broken sewage line?
you think it's a sewage line?
No, it's a water line.
That's a water line?
That's where they hook up the water lines.
Okay.
The problem we're having with that is they're sticking way up out of the ground.
Right.
We have kids running around. They don't always listen about staying out of lots, kick and fall, impale themselves
It
on
was like a
that.
year and a half ago before this one's took over. I was walking my puppy and I broke my ankle by stepping in a divot. It wasn't very big, but it was in a lot, an empty lot. And I was walking the puppy and I broke my left ankle.
Thank you guys for being here. Okay, I'm gonna go to new business resolution, authorize disposition of city property. Sorry. Can I have a motion, Jim? Okay. Can I have a second? Discussion.
So Public Works has a 2019 ATV that they no longer need.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that's fine. It's getting warm in here, I think. I've heard that once.
So Public Works has a 2019 ATV that they no longer need. They would like to place it up for bid on Municipid. It's a municipal bidding website. They'll put a reserve price on it for $7,500, so nobody can bid less than that. But because the value is over $1,000, council needs to approve the disposition.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Roll call.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Meadville authorizing disposition of a 2019 Kubota RTV on municipal bid. McKnight,
Aye.
Myers,
Aye.
Roa,
Aye.
Vogel, Kinder.
Aye. Discussion ordinance, pollinator garden. Can I have a motion to approve the first reading?
This is actually just for discussions tonight.
Oh, what am I looking, oh, I've got,
My apologies.
that's all right.
This would be the-
Discussion ordinance,
This will be
pollinator
the
garden.
first time
Got it.
council's seen this.
Yeah.
This was drafted by Knox based on comments, suggestions, hopes from code enforcement. We, throughout the city, we're having more and more pollinator gardens pop up. And there have been some issues in the past. I think council has heard from a couple residents about some issues that they were having with pollinator gardens. This is an effort to clarify and put parameters around what is and is not classified as a pollinator garden, so it can't be interpreted by code enforcement as just some section of unkept land. And also to set the expectation for residents who want to have such a garden of what it means to have one.
I'm not, I'm not well versed in pollinator gardens. I think they're beautiful, right? Like, but, so when you're saying that, you're looking for like an explanation of, somebody says this is weed, somebody can say, no, this is this plant that is doing this thing, and they can, okay.
Yep.
So pollinator
Yeah.
garden has to be intentional. It needs to be planted, with care and meet certain standards as to what is a garden versus just what is high grass.
Sure.
Okay.
And it looks like you get a permit and then, but you don't have to have a post-it, like the city knows you have a permit. That was,
Correct.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Is that what we've always had, a permit
No.
first? Okay, because I was gonna say, because I know that there's been like a post, like
This is
a
new, yeah.
sign, okay.
Yeah, and those weren't city issued signs, they
Yeah,
were
they
from
were.
a program.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I was really I don't think I have it in this packet, but I was really grateful to see this. In particular, I thought it was pretty thoughtfully done, so like kudos to code enforcement and our zoning officers. I went to look into the process of getting the certification, and there's like a 1 year, like you have to have it planted for a year before it can be recognized. And I went to like write a note and say something, but then I looked at the code again, and it said that you've got like you have to apply for it within the year. So anyway, it just seemed very well thought out and laid out and planned. I have put this, just as an FYI to council, I put this on the agenda for the EAC's meeting on Thursday, just to have them review and give thoughts. I know some folks have written to the EAC about, pollinator gardens, so it's been like a thing that's been buzzing it's been in the air, so. Yeah, I imagine that we might not hear much back, but I can let council know if there's any input that's provided. And I, for one, was glad to have it because I have what might be considered unkept, the two high grasses that I always thought were just like nice for pollinators. But it's nice to know, okay, no, this is actually what this is. And the other thing is a violation of code, so that's great. I'm glad to know that now.
How do we define weeds that are high grass versus high grass that are ornamental grass? Like there are these things that they're clumps and they're ornamental grass and you grow them 2 or 3 feet tall and they're kind of pretty.
I was gonna say, I don't know what the actual definition is. I think that, Peter's our definition guy, but the tall grass and ornamental grass normally is in like a, it's in like a landscaping, in like a kempt, right, like area. I don't know what,
I would have to check on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure how they.
I've seen
I
some
just don't
though,
want
yeah.
people getting cited unnecessarily. I want them, for
So the language right now, if you look at 1721.30,
Right.
weeds and high grass prohibited. The way it is stated right now is weeds shall be defined as all grasses, annual plants, and vegetation other than trees or shrubs. Those are, that's how it's been interpreted. I'm assuming the property maintenance, that's how it's written. I'm assuming the property maintenance is taking a look at a defined ornamental beach grass as being a shrub
Okay.
or something of that nature.
And, okay, so noxious weeds like hogweed would be considered a noxious weed, it's phytotoxic.
It's prohibited
Yeah,
in and of itself.
all right.
This is, so the new language, and if I may, the new language is only that language which is underlined. Everything else already exists in your code.
Thank you.
I'm seeing a few things in D, 6 and 7, pollinator garden shall only be located probably on side
Side, I
in
think.
rear yard.
That's fair.
And then I think it's 5 feet to a property line.
Thank you for that,
Yeah.
yes, we'll get that fixed.
And then is there like, is there rationale for the 5 feet and rear only? I think like it sounds like they're gonna be, maintained in such a way. For me, I got chickens in the back, they're gonna eat anything we put down, so we can't do a pollinator garden in the back. Right, so I got space in the front, right, that's where I would do my pollinator garden. But within, that's 1 in a front yard and 2, and there wouldn't be any space within those, like, the lot provisions.
So I think that the thought process behind that is that the consistency of front yards, the look goes with the consistency of the neighborhood and the quality and characteristics of the neighborhood, with having a cut grass front lawn, that is what neighborhoods are perceived to be.
It's never what my front yard's gonna look like.
Yeah, mine
And so-
I understand what you're saying.
Permitting those in the front yards would affect that. I think from a zoning perspective, that's kind of the concept behind regulations of neighborhoods. And so that's what we see as a best practice. If you don't want that, you don't have to have that. Regarding the 5 feet or 5 feet to a property line or lot line next to it is merely just an idea of a setback behind what it is that you're doing on your property and how close is it intrusive onto a neighboring property.
I'm only processing because I was really, I'm kind of with Autumn, but I want to switch out my grass to like the creeping clover with the little purple, right, like eventually just like piece by piece, and that would be front yard also, right? But it's like a low, so I'm not sure how that would.
These are
Just-
suggested
yeah.
restrictions.
Got it.
Sort of best practices that we'd come up with as we put this together. And a lot of this came from the pollinator habitat certification from the Penn State Pollinator Group and their College of Agricultural Sciences website. So that was a lot of best practices that had been suggested through the research we had found through that. If you want to do it differently, by all means, your call.
Right. I think, appreciate the permit application piece. I would hope that like the new, I think the Shade Tree Commission is moving towards like
That would be stuff.
a permit application to plant a shade tree, but I've been told that that's, there won't be a cost to that. It's just so that they, right, we can have a chance to work with people and make sure they're planting things that are gonna work there and can update the inventory. Anyway, similarly, I would hope that our permit application for pollinator garden wouldn't have a cost. I think this certification is like $10, but then I would hope that the permit of the city.
Yeah, there's not an intent to have a fee associated with this permit. It's really as you were describing, so we have a record and can give people, make sure that they know the parameters.
Sure. Jim, did you have a question?
We have a question. my esteemed councilman asked me if marijuana plants
You're
would
gonna
be
have someone that's gonna
considered
try it.
under this definition.
They're not legal and, it's
Yeah.
not illegal.
They're not
in fact,
legal
you're not
elsewhere.
allowed to legally grow it. Now, once it's legalized to grow, then that might be something that we, right, or?
I think, yes, we're not gonna permit poppy, and nor will we permit marijuana plants.
What'd you say, coffee?
Poppy.
Oh, poppy, oh, I was,
Until such time that the other laws catch up.
ah, got it.
And I just figure someone's gonna try it.
That's a wonderful question. I think that's regulated
I think that
elsewhere.
there's like a growing plan that's required in like the permit application, so it would be a very, I guess that's another reason, it'd be very like a bold move to like.
I know in some of the marijuana legalization legislation that is being bandied about in this state, there is an authorization, in one of the versions, there's an authorization for personal use growth at the home. And there's certain restrictions, with respect to that, and those would have to be followed if that would be authorized.
Sure. Does anybody?
That I could see planting in the backyard.
Mike's right.
You don't want to where the kids are,
It's not a front yard plant.
There's
It's not a front
another-
yard plant.
I know it's going to come up. There are people who have nice gardens in between the sidewalk and the street. Okay? It's not cut grass, it's not a pollinator garden.
Yeah, my street.
I don't necessarily want to see them cited because, under this ordinance.
You're talking about just a regular garden?
I'm talking about,
Flowers
yeah,
or.
they put little plant boxes and.
Yeah, and they wouldn't be cited under this, they haven't been,
Yeah, it's like cultivated.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's
That's good.
clearly planted. But to that point, that might be, a front, allowing in the front, if someone did want to designate that as a pollinator specifically. Could allow them in front yards.
So are we ready for next?
Yep. Nobody has any more questions on this?
No, I think if folks do have thoughts, we'll talk about it at EAC and we can try to compile all of that. So
Do you think we could just bring it back and then we can discuss or have a copy of it, on the Monday before, so we can look at it and make a decision? Or at least look at it, have
Monday before what?
the next meeting, after your EAC meeting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, is there like a timeline on this?
no.
Maybe this season, probably?
Yeah,
if,
no,
like,
no,
we're
I,
into
I'm
the
saying
growing
in
season?
conjunction with asking Jim to give us, right, like, revisions and things the night before, so we can look at them.
Yeah, so if
and have
we
that
put this
done
on
before.
if we put this on the agenda for the next meeting, again, of council, which is the first weekend of April, or the first week of April. Yeah, EAC meets Thursday, so I'll just send around. I mean, there's not. Are you staff liaison to EAC?
I guess so.
I don't know. Would you do the same thing that you do for planning commission? I don't know.
Well, so like.
Like to
we
prepare
Yeah, I don't, like, me and Renna swapped out the
Right.
liaisonship once she was no longer tasked with doing the EAC's minutes or anything, so I am effectively, stepped in
Yeah.
that role, but it's a different relationship with the planning commission, because the planning commission has a different role as an agency by law.
Okay.
With legal effect, so.
Yeah, great. We'll get Peggy, the chair, to summarize thoughts and send them to council. That should happen
Just
before today's meeting.
Yeah.
Yep, great.
Okay, public comment on non-agenda items.
We have none.
All right, council member statements, Jim?
Thank you. I'd like to thank all the Asbury Manor residents for coming and expressing their opinions and their concerns. That's what makes our government work. And another issue that has cropped up. We have had some seasoned citizens who come to council meetings and they cannot hear what we're talking about. And frankly, sometimes I can't hear what members of the public are saying. I know the acoustics in this room are off, we probably have to have sound engineers, but should we look into an audio system so that we can hear members of the public when they speak, and that they could understand and hear us when we're talking and discussing. I had one person walk out of the room because she just couldn't hear what we were talking about.
I couldn't hear half of what was said today.
We could get those tiny microphone packs.
Right.
Those are pretty cheap on Amazon. You can get a couple of those.
Just speakers, yeah.
Yeah, just set them up along the
As long as they
front
don't
of the desks.
backfeed into Kevin's camera.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to, you know, the stuff we were saying be, you know, like closed caption, you know.
Oh, yeah.
On these, not that, you know, we've got a microphone, I wonder, it's Armstrong's duty to, but do you know what I mean? Like if there was, yeah, I don't know. There has to be some options for us
Yeah,
to-
I mean,
Sorting it out.
maybe for the next few meetings, we just, like, can we reserve the front row for folks who are hard of hearing and ask folks who are speaking to stand and speak at the podium if they're able, just like,
And make a point to speak up so that people in the back,
yeah.
or even just asking, can everybody hear, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then look into some other things. Thank you, Jim, for that, I appreciate that.
That's all.
Gretchen?
What I can hear.
Yeah.
You know I had to do it, right? So I had to do the job. Did you say
Right.
something? Well, I don't really have anything. It's just really been gorgeous out. The St. Patrick's Day Parade was great. And that's really it. And as always, thank you, staff, and Tim for the pollinator ordinance. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Gretchen. Larry?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the residents of both East and West Asbury Manor for coming. And it's a big concern. No one should have to live under the conditions. And I think it's great that they know that we're listening. And like they say, hopefully the new owners will be inspired to take care of their property a lot better. And I'd like to encourage them to continue to reach out to, you know, your Congress, your representative, anybody that has power in the state. Don't know what we can do until we try. And I also like to thank, Peter for the work that he's doing on his garage, everything that he's been doing, and our whole staff for everything that they've been doing. I see a lot, since I've been back, I see a lot more. Well, it's been there, but we're working together so much more cohesively, and our responses are showing in the things that are being done in Meadville. And I'm just proud to be a part of it.
Thank you, Larry. I'm so sorry. I adore you, and I'm so sorry. I forget about you all the time. He like sits over there with staff, and then nobody else wants a statement. I'm so sorry. Please.
Firstly, I just want to echo Jim and Larry, speaking solely as a resident of the city. I do hope that the property issues that have been brought up today can be addressed in a proper, legal, and very efficient manner. And secondly, this Thursday is the first official day of spring.
Right.
I'm not looking forward to the rain, but I'm looking forward to the warm weather. So hope everyone can enjoy it.
Thank you. Autumn.
Yeah, I'll echo some thanks. Thanks to Shayna Morrison for her service to the Rec Authority. Saw that she included in her letter that she learned to swim and skate at the rec, and so did her kids, right? So that's like, it's a beautiful thing that she could serve our community in that way. And so hopefully we'll find some folks who are equally as dedicated and care about that place to serve our community and oversee that public asset. The St. Patrick's Day Parade was great, so thanks to the committee, the Jack Curtin St. Patrick's Day Committee, who put all of that together. The Barney Breakfast is great, do this jig, great. It's so fun for people to come out. Feels like the mark of like the end of winter is when we kind of all start to emerge for St. Patrick's Day. So, and it was also it was a really nice thing. Eileen Mullen oversees a really beautiful event, and several times throughout, right, like used it as a platform to recognize various young people who are doing things to make our community better, who are invested in this place. And so thanks to those people who were recognized for doing that work, raised money for various organizations on Friday, and thanks for the committee for recognizing them and their work. Sometimes we just speak in ways in these meetings that might not be the most interesting. But so many interesting things happened tonight. I'm just gonna recap, because great stuff happened. Like firefighters got their pensions back. I mean, that was a done deal prior, right? But we made the bureaucratic changes that we had to make to effectuate that. We're gonna have pollinator gardens. We're gonna update our zoning ordinance to have more ways for people to live, more options for housing, because that's been a huge priority for us. We have a crisis intervention officer in our police department, and we heard about the great work he's doing. And so, just to recap what happened this week at City Council. Those are great things, and I think the other big thing, what happened this week at City Council, right, was the residents showed up and really kind of, demanded the kind of living conditions, right, that you deserve, better ones you can afford, where you feel safe, where you're respected and responded to, and so really grateful that you felt like you could come here tonight and share that with us. Obviously you've got our support, and we're gonna do what we can, certainly on the property code enforcement. I'm really glad that we've got city staff that's working in the interest of residents to make sure that their properties they're living in are safe and sound. And yeah, again, thanks for you all for kind of banding together and kind of organizing to kind of get what you deserve. What you deserve being, again, housing that's safe and affordable here in Meadville, right? We want people to live in Meadville and have good quality of lives here. And so, we'll work hard for our residents to ensure that that's true. So thanks for doing that, and glad to be a partner with you in this.
Thanks, Autumn. I'm just gonna, probably echo everything that was said, and say what I always say, Meadville is a place where we care about people. We care about our neighbors. We value them, and we want them to speak up, so we know what is going on here, right? So we can band together and we can help each other. And I think we saw something tonight that happens often, because it follows the values of this city and the values of this council, right? And that is dignity where you live, the ability to find your joy here in Meadville, right? And the ability to come to your council meetings and hold us accountable and ask us for help and expect us to help you, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing, and that's the way government should work. You should be able to come into a meeting, you should be able to ask for help, you should be able to, right, say what is happening and let it be known without recourse, right? This is it really is a beautiful thing. And then yes, the firemen getting their pensions, that always makes me happy, right? Unionize everything. And everybody deserves a pension. But we're super proud of the people who work in this city. They are doing a wonderful job, right? And it makes me very proud to live here. And then the St. Patrick's Day parade, right? That's another example of Meadville coming together and holding these same values, right? Eileen is being very intentional in bringing in younger leaders, so we are not overstaying our welcome, right? And they get a chance to become leaders and grow into that leadership and love this city like we do, right? So I want to thank the parade was wonderful. I did get asked walking my dog if I had a waiver, because you have to have a waiver for walking your pet. I was like, I live here, I can walk around here, right? But and then I laughed it off. He did have a sweater on. It was green, so I understand why they thought he'd be in the parade. But when you look pretty in something, you should just get to wear it, right? We get to feel good about ourselves. Looks good in green. It's a beautiful redhead. Anyway, needless to say, I'm just really proud of this place. I'm really proud to have people come in and tell us when they need us, and I'm proud to be in relationship with everybody in this room and everybody in this city. because I care about you guys. And with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Roll call.
McKnight,
Aye.
Myers,
Aye.
Roa,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye.